Hi everyone, happy Monday. Welcome to Ask Me Monday number 25. I am here with a guest in my studio today. This is Marcy Smith. She's editor-in-chief of Interweave Crochet and Crochet Scene. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Love of Crochet.
And Love of Crochet.
Yeah. Hi.
So she's here in Austin, Texas visiting. They have allowed me to take over as a guest editor for Crochet Scene that's going to be coming out in November. So we're planning the issue, which is really exciting.
Very fun and exciting.
And she came to me, which I super appreciate. So that was awesome. So we're going to start. We're going to answer a few questions that were posted on Facebook. And then we're going to have a lesson for you later. So that'll be super fun. All right. So the first one comes from Beth, and she wants to know if there's a way to use stitch markers in crochet. She said it's super easy for knitting, but she hasn't figured it out for crochet. It's easy for knitting because there's an actual stick to hold on to. So we brought a few of these. See if I can, actually the dish was a bad idea. So split stitch markers are the way to go. So this one, you can see there's an opening and you would just slide it right on the stitch. There's some that look like this, kind of like a little safety pin, or you could use a safety pin, or Marcy brought one.
And there's one that has a little lobster claw. It's a fancy one. It has a bead on it, and a beater has attached it to the lobster claw.
So it just needs to be something that can be removed. So you're not ever sliding it onto the hook. You're going to slide it onto the individual stitch. So that's the big difference. All right, so Allison wants to know if there's any beginner pointers for designing patterns. So as an editor, what a little bit of advice could you give to someone who wants to design?
That's a good question. One thing to do would be to look at the patterns in the magazines. And particularly maybe if it's a designer that you admire, you like their work, look at how they explain it. So basically what you're doing is you're creating a thing and then you're creating instructions so that somebody else can make that very same thing.
So clarity. But it's not there's not a guide. I mean, there's yarnstandards.com that will give you a lot of pointers, but every magazine and book publisher has their own styles. And so they're going to reformat it no matter what. So what you really need to focus on is the clarity, so that your tech editor or your pattern writer that's going to be translating it knows what they're translating. Yeah,
that's true. So just being very clear about how you're moving from step to step. And in the process of doing that, you may see a smarter way of doing it, you know, coming up with a mathematical stitch count or something that makes the whole thing easier to follow.
As long as you put some form of key or definition or something if you're coming up with anything razzly, right? So we have another question from Karen. She wants to know if there's any new upcoming trends for crochet specifically for home decor.
Oh, that's so funny because that's what you and I have been talking about all morning.
We've been very home decor obsessed today.
Very on trend.
I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah. So wall hangings and wall hangings that are functional or not functional. Do you know? And all sorts of actually fiber sports involved in creating those wall hangings. It might be weaving, it might be macrame.
Did you say fiber sports?
I did say fiber sports. Yeah. So it could be crochet or weaving or macrame or all of those things. And maybe it's just hanging on a wall looking awesome, or maybe it's hanging on a wall being a headboard for a bed.
Yeah.
Or maybe a mobile sort of thing hanging in the middle there.
So crochet is art.
Yes.
Yeah. For house, for sure. We have another question from Caitlin. Are there other ways to be involved in the crochet world or knitting world if designing isn't your thing? Are there other jobs, you know, in the industry?
Yeah, there are lots of jobs. There's mine, but you can't have it. Tech editing is a huge, huge job, and there's always a demand for tech editors. And a tech editor is someone who edits the pattern, much as a copy editor would edit a story. The tech editor goes through the pattern and makes sure that the instructions that are there will yield the design that was sent.
And sometimes they also grade patterns.
They do.
Depending on the publication.
And they may generate stitch diagrams. That could be part of the job as well.
Oh, that's not separate. Really?
It's fusing more and more.
Creating crochet diagrams is a lot more complicated than knitting. Like technically complicated, the knitting diagrams, because especially motifs, you have to actually have knowledge of Illustrator or different, like you can't fake it the way that I have in Excel or whatever for knitting. So that's a great skill to have, because there aren't a ton of people with that skill in the industry.
Oh, it is a terrific skill.
There are like 2 or 3 people that you go to, like the entire industry goes to create charts. So if you're interested in that at all, it's definitely something, a hole that needs to be filled for sure. But yeah, magazine editors, there's yarn editors at magazines, and their whole entire job is just to know about the yarns and place them with people. Do you have yarn editors at Interweave?
That's us. Well, you and I are going to be yarn editors.
That's just us, but not a specific, or yarn coordinator, sometimes they call it.
I work with our project editor to find the right yarn for the right project.
Okay. Yeah. I know at, I guess it's at Soho, they have an actual like yarn, or they have a yarn coordinator that like just makes sure that all the yarns gets to the right place and the right design. It just depends. There's a lot of different jobs, but honestly, pitch yourself. Pitch yourself as a writer. You could write stories about inspiring crocheters. You could write, if you can think of a story, pitch it as that. You could pitch yourself to, the industry needs content in general. So if you want to blog, pitch that. If you want to do a guest takeover for a Pinterest board, try pitching it. It may or may not go over well, but try it. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there was a couple that came before. I want to get to our, Barbara wants to know, how does one become a tech editor? That's a great question.
That's a great question.
I don't have an answer.
I don't really have an answer either. There are tools being developed.
Marley Bird's watching. Hi, Marley.
Hi, Marley. You can find resources through the Crochet Guild of America, for instance, and you can work with the mentoring program there and designers who, I'm sorry, you're asking specifically about tech editing, but there are tech editors involved in Crochet Guild of America who can help get you on that path.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is pitching yourself and getting someone to give you a try.
Yeah, and so for instance, with our magazine, if somebody writes to us and says, I'm very interested in this, maybe they have some experience with it, maybe they don't, we send them a test. And
do you have a test pattern that you could, do you do that? Do you send like a pattern that you know what the mistakes are? And
right, yeah.
I mean, bottom line is pitch yourself. But don't pitch yourself if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
because, because you only get that open doorway, with a particular company once, maybe twice if they're in a good mood, So, if you put on Ravelry, if you go on Ravelry and you put a call out, say, hey, I'm interested in starting tech edit, I'd be willing to do it for, Indie Designer X for free if you want to give me a try for once or twice. Get that practice. And then you start a paper trail, you start a resume, start there. And Ravelry is a great place, probably Crochet Me as well. You could just kind of post, put a call out.
And I think there are tech editor groups on Ravelry. I had forgotten about that, but I think there are forums, groups. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. So in lieu of getting more questions in, because we have an entire magazine to put together, we thought we would do a quick demo. And I'm really excited because we've had several questions over the last weeks about Tunisian crochet, and that is not one of my specialties. But this gal, this gal knows a little something about that. And she actually brought, I don't know if you remember, several weeks ago, my friend Nicole Weiner, who is an in-house designer for Yarn Inspirations, she created a tribute pattern chart for David Bowie. And Marcy showed up with a surprise where that she had used it to create a Tunisian crochet piece. Want to go ahead and show it?
Hold it up this way?
Yep. So if you can see she also embroidered David Bowie's face. But this is the entire chart that Nicole put together. And she used it, it had been intended for knitting, but it worked beautifully with Tunisian. Explain a little bit about Tunisian and what the look of Tunisian crochet and why it works so well with charts.
Tunisian is a 1-to-1 ratio with a chart, and so if you have a chart, it's a square, and it's going to work out exactly like the square. If you're doing stockinette stitch, for instance, it's going to be skewed. It's going to be skinnier than the chart, but Tunisian is going to work out just right. And back in the day, Tunisian was known as Afghan stitch. It's still known as Afghan stitch in some places. And its main job was to create swaths of fabric with a grid that you would then cross stitch onto, because it's the same as that cross stitch
That
grid.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I have done portraits. I don't have a picture of those. I'll get you
Have you
one.
really?
Where I translate a photo to a pixelated image and then do the portrait with all the different colors.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we thought since we have her here that we would take advantage, and she's going to actually show you how to do the Tunisian simple stitch.
Yep.
So we're going to do what is probably going to be a really messy turn of the camera, because it always is on these. Again, this particular app that we use only allows for us to shoot with the phone. So it's not pretty, but we're going to make it happen. So you're going to probably see me switch in a second. Okay, there we go. We got Marcy's hands here. You know what? Let's scoot the tapestry piece out of the way.
This away?
The shot? Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so the Tunisian crochet is made up actually of 2 rows. It's a forward pass and a return pass. I've set this up and I'm doing the last 2 stitches of this forward pass. I go under this vertical bar and pick up a loop and pull it through. And for this end stitch, to make it tidy, you actually turn it and go through 2 loops on the end. If you go through just the one, you'll have a loose floppy thing. Okay, you pull it through and there's your forward pass. To return, you yarn over and pull through 1 loop, and then you yarn over and you pull through 2 loops and you go across, pulling through 2 loops on the return pass. There are fancy variations on both the forward pass and the return pass to create lacy fabrics and woven fabrics, but for the Tunisian simple stitch, it's really just that simple. And so your forward pass, again, you're going under the front vertical bar, wrap, and pulling up a loop. And you can see it's getting less open as you do that. It closes up when you pick that up.
Right, because in traditional crochet you would go at, in the top loops, but this is at the actual vertical bar, so it pulls them closer.
That's right.
Very cool. So I'm not sure if you already said this, so excuse me if I'm repeating, but so every row takes 2 passes.
Right. And
So this is what, go ahead and finish. I think this is cool.
Yep. So this is the forward.
Forward, and then
the return. Now, because you're picking up so many, you're picking them up all the way across the fabric. I'm working on just 6 stitches right here, but when I worked on the Bowie piece, it took more stitches than this hook here.
Oh, right.
This looks like a standard hook, but it actually has a little screw here where you can put in a long cord and make, I don't know if you can even see how long that cord is. It's pretty long. You can put a lot of fabric on there.
And it has a little stopper you can see at the end so that the stitches don't fly off.
That's right. So I like working with the corded hooks. And because it comes out, you can attach it to all different, it's a set, and it comes with all different sizes. They also have individual, very long, straight Tunisian hooks that you can work with as well. So, and when you're done with this, you have this little grid that you could do cross stitch on if you want, and make yourself nifty home decor, because that's another trend.
Okay, let's turn this around. Okay, perfect. All right, that's so cool. I need to pick up my hooks again. I have not. It's been a couple of years since I've even tried, but it's super fun, and I really like the woven look of it. Weaving in general is really sort of on trend right now. So if you're thinking about wall hangings, this is another craft that you might consider. Well, this has been really, really great. I wish I could have guests all the time. It's fun for me. I just hang out. I wanted to tell you about a couple things. Please tune in to the Hallmark channel this Friday for the Home and Family Show. I will be a guest showing, doing a knitting segment. It's going to be all about cool, sort of funky baby stuff, or just learning how to knit when there's a new baby on the way. So that's Hallmark channel, Home and Family. Again, that's this Friday. The podcast I've been talking about, Teasing, Craft-ish, it's getting closer. We're about 4 weeks, a little less than 4 weeks away. It will be launching on April 5th. That's Tuesday, April 5th. I just put another teaser up on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts to hear a little more about that, where you can make suggestions for future guests and also hear about a few of the guests that I've already interviewed. So please check that out, and I will also post a link in the show notes for this. Keep your eyes open for this week's Clover post for the Clover blog. It's also Clover themed. For St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to be doing a little Clover applique, knitted applique that you can put on anything. I'm putting it on a denim vest for my daughter, whose name is also Clover. So just to really, really nail in the Clover thing. And then keep your eyes open. We've got quite some time, but November, Crochet Scene Takeover.
That's right.
Takeover. So we're going to be working on that. So it'll be a special issue coming out in November. And of course, we'll tease that as we get closer, and we'll keep you up to date. And I think that's it for now. So give Tunisian a try. Give crochet a try. I did see a couple questions, and I didn't address them about promoting your own projects, getting into the business of crochet. If you're interested, I have a Monetize Your Craft online class on Creative Live. That's just creativelive.com/Vickie Howell, and you can find all of my classes. I also have knitting and crochet classes there, but a lot of your questions will be answered about promoting on social media, how to get started, that kind of thing. So check that out. And until next week, I guess. Yes, I will be in town. So until next week, I will see you. Have a great rest of your week, and I will try to answer some of your other questions on Facebook. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.